Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Vajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vajajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitagora Haribol, 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 Nitagora Haribol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gora Premanandi. Jai Shri Prahlad Lakshmi Nishingadev Bhagavan Ki. Okay, so today we are reading from Bhagavad-gītā, second chapter, verse 28. Is that on the board? 28? Okay, good. Avyaktadini bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata avyakta nidananyeva tatra ka paridevana. Avyaktadini bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata avyakta nidananyeva tatra ka paridevana. Avyaktadini bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata avyakta nidananyeva tatra ka paridevana. Okay, you can recite. Vyaktadini bhutani. Vaishnavis? Vyaktadini bhutani. Vyaktamatyani bharata. Paridevana. Avyakta adini. In the beginning, unmanifested. Bhutani, all that are created. Vyakta, manifested. Mathyani, in the middle. Bharata, O descendant of Bharata. Avyakta, non-manifested. Nidanani, when vanquished. Eva, it is all like that. Tatra, therefore. Ka, what? Paridevana, lamentation. Translation: all created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation? Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Accepting that there are two classes of philosophers, one believing in the existence of the soul and the other not believing in the existence of the soul, there is no cause for lamentation in either case. Non-believers in the existence of the soul are called atheists by followers of Vedic wisdom. Yet, even if, for argument's sake, we accept this atheistic theory, there is still no cause for lamentation. Apart from the separate existence of the soul, the material elements remain unmanifested before creation. From this subtle state of non-manifestation comes manifestation, just as from ether air is generated, from air fire is generated, from fire water is generated, and from water earth becomes manifested. From the earth, many varieties of manifestations take place. Take, for example, a big skyscraper manifested from the earth. When it is dismantled, the manifestation becomes again unmanifested and remains as atoms in the ultimate stage. The law of conservation of energy remains, but in course of time, things are manifested and unmanifested. That is the difference. Then what cause is there for lamentation, either in the stage of manifestation or in unmanifestation? Somehow or other, even in the unmanifested stage, things are not lost. Both at the beginning and at the end, all elements remain unmanifested. And only in the middle are they manifested, and this does not make any real material difference. And if we accept the Vedic conclusion as stated in Bhagavad-gītā, that these material bodies are perishable in due course of time, but antavanta ime deha, but that the soul is eternal, nitya yokta sharirina, then we must remember always that the body is like a dress. Therefore, why lament the changing of a dress? The material body has no factual existence in relation to the eternal soul. It is something like a dream. In a dream, we may think of flying in the sky or sitting on a chariot as a king, but when we wake up, we can see that we are neither in the sky nor seated on the chariot. The Vedic wisdom encourages self-realization on the basis of the non-existence of the material body. Therefore, in either case, whether one believes in the existence of the soul or one does not believe in the existence of the soul, there is no cause for lamentation for loss of the body. I repeat the verse one more time. All created beings are unmanifested in the beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifested again when annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation? Amakyant Mirandasya Kyananjana Shalakaya Shakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So this verse is happening as Krishna is starting to give Arjuna his teachings of who he really is. And he tries to give arguments to Arjuna why there's no need to lament for the situation Arjuna is in. Arjuna is on the battlefield and he has his relatives and good friends on the other side that he's, supposed to kill. There's about to be one of the biggest wars that was at the time. And Arjuna is very desperate. He's very absorbed in his current identity as one of the Pandavas, as one of the rulers of Bharata at the time. Yeah, they wanted to regain their kingdom. And now Krishna is telling him, well, even if you believe that you are not the soul, because before he gave him various instructions that you are the soul, that you were never born, you will never die, you've always existed, just like I have existed, you have always existed. So Krishna tells him that you have essentially the same nature that I have. Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. We are one with God, but we're different from God too. The oneness is the oneness of Brahman, of Satchit Ananda, eternal existence, knowledge and bliss. And we have that same nature as Krishna. Of course, not in quantity. Just like a drop of salt water compared to the ocean. We are very insignificant and small. We can fall into illusion. And Krishna never falls into illusion. We have some power of creation. Krishna can manifest unlimited universes. So these are two main differences of the many differences, in terms of power and in terms of the ability to, fall into illusion. Now, what Krishna is describing here, like the unmanifested stage and then manifested again and unmanifested, we can see this happening on various scales. When we look at the science of our body, I believe that scientists agree that our cells, all of our cells in our body, are regenerated every 7 years or so, I believe. Imagine, like completely regenerated. And then this also refers to this particular life, where we get a body, we are born from our mother, and then one day we will die, everyone will forget us. But it also relates to the creation of the universe that is created and is manifested and then unmanifested. The souls that enter into this universe and then again enter back into Mahavishnu. The Upanishads describe that every night when we're in deep sleep, not when we're dreaming, but there's a time period of deep sleep, we actually enter into the body of Mahavishnu. The Upanishads describe that every night we meet the Lord, but we forget about it when we wake up. So each night we actually fall into such a deep state of consciousness where we have no awareness of our current identity. In science they call it delta brainwaves. And in that state, and even Prabhupada writes it, we are embraced, by Mahavishnu, so to say. But not only, in our therefore, it's sometimes, we feel well rested or we feel rejuvenated. But this only happens if you enter this deep sleep period, really. And at the same time, the universe is manifested and unmanifested. So in the very beginning, we have Brahman. Yeah, we have Krishna, we have the energy of God. The first material manifestation, anyone knows what that is? I'm just going to ask you some questions to keep you awake. Not really. There's something before that. It's kind of the unmanifested Mahatattva. It's Pradhan. So Pradhan is basically Brahman with the balanced modes of material nature without the factor of time yet. Okay? So that is kind of like the very first layer of material existence is Pradhan. Then from that comes Mahatattva. But Mahatattva already exists with the factor of time. Mahatattva is the primeval element, the first element from which all other elements come and are generated. So it's kind of not so, although we often make fun of, like the Big Bang theory and so on and so forth, which of course is very limited in its perspective because the cause is not explained. It's just boom and then it's all there. But in the Vedic tradition, you have this Mahatattva element in the beginning. And this Mahatattva element is like the most subtle material element. The most subtle. And this exists in the very beginning. And when the jivas, the souls, are combined by the shower and bhakti of the Paramatma, this Mahatattva starts to shine. It's described in Srimad Bhagavatam. It's all described in the 26th chapter of the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we become manifested. And we kind of like, from this Mahatattva, we generate the false ego, we generate the mind, we generate the intelligence, the senses, the physical body, and so on and so forth. But in the very beginning, of course, there's Brahman, there's pure consciousness, and Para-Brahman, the supreme consciousness. And then, even during the process of creation, Brahman, Lord Sri Brahma, who created this universe, after each day, not all of the planets, but most of the planetary dimensions are destroyed. And the jivas enter again into Mahavishnu. And then each new day of Brahman, they again come into the creation. So it's a constant process of manifestation and being unmanifested. It's a constant play that is going on. And this is something that is referenced here by Krishna. Of course, he really talks about, look, your body is anyway going to pass at any moment, so why do you worry about it? And Prabhupada is comparing it to a dream. Now, not in the sense that this life is an illusion, but the way we look at this life is an illusion. Now, why is that so? Because, out of billions of years, this life is totally insignificant. From the point of eternity, like the soul has always existed, just imagine this fact that the soul has always existed, that it was never created at some point. It has always existed together with Krishna. Just try to contemplate that. It's inconceivable. So this soul that has always existed, and there is no time on the spiritual level. There is no concept of time. Sometimes we have this idea, okay, we are here and the spiritual world is going on and we are away from there. But there is no time in the spiritual world. The time that exists in the spiritual world is only for the sake of Leela. There is no material time like here. So from that perspective, if you look for billions of lifetimes we might have been here or more, what is this life compared to that? I mean, it's kind of like totally insignificant. But then at the same time, it's so significant because in this very lifetime, we can kind of like change the direction in which we are going. And the direction in which we are going is largely is determined by our state of consciousness. On our state of consciousness. That determines where we will go. For example, Madhva Acharya describes that Lord Brahma has a body that is made of this Mahatattva element. It's pure intelligence. Imagine you have a body with pure intelligence. No mind, that disturbs you, no material lower emotions. It's all not there. You just have pure intelligence. So therefore, Lord Brahma, he doesn't really fall down. Imagine Lord Brahma falling down from his position. I mean, who would take care of the universe? I'm sure Krishna would immediately step in, but Lord Brahma, as far as I understand, at least in this lifetime as he is Lord Brahma, he doesn't fall down, but later he can come down to other states of consciousness. And of course, Lord Brahma got really bewildered by Krishna, but Krishna can bewilder anyone at any time. So, as we are looking at consciousness as the determinant factor of where we are going, it's also very interesting to note that Srila Prabhupada said that most of my disciples will go to the heavenly planets. Now, why is that? Because in the heavenly planets, you have different souls that have God consciousness, but at the same time, they still want to enjoy separate from God, because there's so much facility, there's so much opportunity for enjoyment, there's unbelievable opportunity for enjoyment. There's the ability to create things, to manifest things. You know, manifesting things is a very, very famous concept nowadays, but in the heavenly planets you can instantly manifest things, instantly. And as higher you go, the more powerful you become. Where, you know, the elevated beings, you know, on Siddha Loka, they have the power to, some of them, like Lord Brahma, to create planets instantly. By the power of the Lord, of course. Any power ultimately comes from the Lord. But because most of us, we have the tendency of the ahankara, which is that we try to derive pleasure from material energy instead of from the spiritual energy. We try to manipulate material energy in such a way that we can derive some pleasure from that. That could be in a very obvious and gross way, like through sleeping, eating, through sex, or it can be in a subtle way, through fame, recognition, power, influence. But ultimately, as long, even the concept of wanting to help others, to save others, which is a very pious consciousness, is still bound to a material identity that will lead to the manifestation of the mind. So, having that understood, we realized that it's really about purifying our consciousness. Now, purifying our consciousness is something that doesn't happen automatically. It doesn't happen on standby. But it can very quickly happen through the power of bhakti, of love. So, why is love so powerful? Because love is an emotion and force in this world that doesn't want to engage with matter, that doesn't want to enjoy matter, that doesn't want to manipulate matter in any way. It just wants to serve and to give. And love, one characteristic also is that you want to be enjoyed from the object of your love, which is Krishna. So when we cultivate this energy of love in our hearts, then it becomes much, 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 much easier to transcend. Now, this love, this bhakti, is again not something that is just automatically given. Even if we are coming in contact with people that really want to cultivate pure love, pure unconditional love, love that is not, you don't want anything, you just want to serve the object of your love in whatever way the object of your love pleases. So even when we come in contact with such individuals, the question is, how can we ensure that we really open ourselves to the highest level possible to receive that love? How can we open our consciousness to such an extent that we allow as much mercy in as possible? And here we can fall into various traps. We can fall into the trap that we believe that we can just transcend our human identity altogether, which is very tempting. It's the idea that now I'm a devotee, so I can reject anything that has anything to do with my material identity, my body, my mind, my emotions, my desires. I can just all forget about it and just embrace my spiritual identity. And be liberated. Jai Nishigadev Bhagavad-gītā. Now, while there's truth in that we want to cultivate a new identity, the other part of the truth is that we cannot transcend something that we haven't mastered. For example, I always find this so interesting. In Bhagavatam, different mystic cities are explained, and one of the powers is the power of levitation. And the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali explain that you get the power of levitation once you have mastered the earth element in one sense. Your first chakra, which is so much related to the earth and being grounded. So it's not about artificially rejecting something, it's about mastering it and then transcending it. So therefore, you find in the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna offers a big menu with different things where everyone can take something from. Therefore, you find in our scriptures all kinds of things. For people that like to eat meat, for people that are addicted to sex, we have the Kama Sutras. They were created by a saint that was actually practicing brahmacharya. For the purpose, yeah, it's true. Yes, and it's part of it is accepted in one sense as part of our, but of the Vedic paradigm. So to kind of like give for everyone something so that they can elevate their consciousness. And when I say master the body, I mean that we understand how to operate with this body and this mind, how we can engage it in such a dharmic way that it is so sattvic situated that we are not anymore dragged down by it. Otherwise, what will happen is we might just spiritually bypass our human identity. And this happens many times. And one symptom of that is that you make some progress, but you keep falling back. And sometimes you fall really hard. And sometimes it can become a big scandal. Because you thought you had dealt with your impurities, but you really hadn't. Now, there are various reasons as to why we keep falling back to the same consciousness and why we struggle to elevate ourselves to a higher state of consciousness. But I want to emphasize this point that if you don't master your body, your emotions, your desires, your dharma, then it's almost impossible. It is impossible to come to the level of real, genuine bhakti. Most people that come here and immediately take up the process of bhakti and have no other business anymore in this world, they already start from this point in this life. The Goswamis, they obviously, coming directly from the spiritual world. But even if we look at other powerful devotees, many of them, they come already here having mastered these different layers of existence. And sometimes what happens with us devotees is that we don't really know how to deal with life, and sometimes we hide away from facing our realities. And this is very problematic. Because what can happen is, when many people come together with that idea that everything outside, let's take the temple, is bad, and everything here is good, everything here is service, and everything here is Krishna, and everything outside is Maya, bad and fallen. If many people come together like that, they can create like a state of illusion where they think that they are better, more advanced, or more special than everyone else, which is a big, big trap of the ego. Because as soon as you think you are better than anyone, even someone that is not a devotee, anyone, then you are immediately in a state of illusion, because then you're looking at the body, you're looking at the external manifestation. I love the story of Indra Prabhu, that he was in Vrindavan, and then some devotees came and they told him, look, your father is passing away. Your father is passing away. You might want to go and, see him, visit him in America. And Indra Prabhu said, I have no business doing that. I'm chanting Harinam here all day. That's the best service I can do for him. Which is true in one sense. And then he went to sleep, and then he had a dream. And in his dream, I don't know what personality came in his dream, but a higher personality came to him in his dream. And that personality revealed to him that his father, that was smoking, drinking, like completely not a devotee, he was totally, not God conscious at all. But he told him, your father was a sannyasi, I believe a sannyasi, from Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. And he had fallen down. And he had to take birth. And it's your job now to kind of like help him, to deliver him. So when Prabhu heard this, he arranged that Tulasi necklace, Tulasi leaves, and I believe Yamuna or Ganges water was sent to him so he could be liberated. So we want to be very careful when we look at other people because we really don't know who they are. As our movement grows, many of the new bhaktas or people that come, we don't know who they were in their past life. Maybe they were gurus with 10,000 disciples. We don't know. So we want to take a very humble position. Of course, see, there's a difference between judgment and discrimination, and this is very important to understand. Judgment is the faculty of the lower intelligence. Discrimination is the faculty of the higher spiritual intelligence. Judgment means, accepting, oh, this is good, this is bad, this devotee is good, that devotee is bad, this is a good service, that's a bad service, my service is the best service. Like these understandings, they're just a manifestation of ego. It's better to live in the temple. No, it's better to live outside. All these, it's better to get married. It's better to stay brahmachari. These are all different manifestations of the ahankara. However, and now comes this point of discrimination, we want to use discrimination. So the difference between judgment and discrimination is just purely observing something. And when you purely observe something without forming an opinion about it, then you can see it as it is. If I look at another person and I don't form any opinion about them, then I can see them as they are. As soon as I form an opinion, oh, Tejas Prabhu, he is a brahmachari, he's wearing saffron. Oh, that means he must be a fanatic. So now I can't see Tejas Prabhu Thakur anymore as he is. But as soon as I see him as without forming any opinion about him, then I can really connect to him. Okay. So in the same way, we have to learn to use our spiritual intelligence. That's when we can really get empowered to serve others, and that's when we can really get empowered in our own service, because then when something happens to us, we start to understand that it happens for us. We can not come in with our mind and judge the situation. Oh, this is something bad that happens right now. Now I'm disappointed, or now I'm sad, or now I'm hurt. But we are like, wait, let me just look at this as it is. Let me zoom out from my current identity and let me see things as they are. Because if we don't do that, and if we come together in a community, we can sometimes create our own beliefs. This happens a lot in our Hare Krishna movement. If you look back in the history of some communities, you'll find some communities that were quite interesting. Yeah. I'm not going to mention now what community, so you don't go on Google and research it. But not just within our movement, even outside of our movement, when people come together and they start to believe that they are chosen and special, some really weird stuff starts to go on in such communities. Fortunately, in our community here, it's not happening. I'm just making this point, that we want to really stay in touch with Shastra and have the maturity to understand why Prabhupada says something, in what context, at what time, and in what circumstances. This is very important, but this can only happen if we activate our higher spiritual intelligence. Because otherwise, we'll just create separation in our movement. Everyone should wear dhotis. No, everyone should wear Western clothes. No, everyone should do like this. No, everyone should distribute books. No, distributing books is all. We should just do university preaching. We just create identities within our devotional communities. instead of empowering each other. When you activate your spiritual intelligence, you see the good in someone. You want to empower a person according to their natural talents and skills. You want to help them to flourish. When you use your lower intelligence, then you're going to form judgments, and you're going to project your own identity on others, and you're going to tell others that they should act in certain ways because that's how you act. Okay? I'm a pujari, so now everyone should be a pujari. Or I'm a book distributor, now everyone should do this. And everyone who doesn't do it, they just don't understand what Prabhupada is saying. You know, of course, every devotee will find their service, and they will treasure it, and they will fall in love with that service, and they will, when they speak about it, you know, they will start to shine, and they will inspire others about that. But you never want to start judging others. Also not on the time when they get up, how many rounds they chant, how much they read. You don't judge others. A devotee doesn't do that. Because when you judge, you start to criticize. Oh, have you heard about this? Oh, have you seen this? I always knew that about him. I knew he couldn't last. You know, what is that? What is that? You know, it has nothing to do with spiritual life. So in a devotional community, what we want to do is we want to cultivate love in our heart. Also, and most importantly, on a human level, how do you think you're going to be able to love someone on a spiritual level if you don't have any human love? If you focus on the area around your heart and you just feel emptiness? You think one day you wake up and you're in ecstasy by, you know, okay, maybe Krishna descends on earth just for you to bless you, but otherwise, chances are it's not going to happen. So, mastering the human body and the human level of existence means to learn, you know, those higher sattvic qualities like humility, like tolerance, love and compassion, to actually endeavor for them. Not just to wait until they start flying towards us, but to actually cultivate them. Yes, in Shastra it is mentioned, you just chant the holy name and then everything will be given to you. But then look at yourself. Is it happening? Are you transforming? Are these qualities manifesting in you? If they're not, then maybe your chanting is a bit off. Why is your chanting off? Because you're not chanting on the level of intelligence. You're chanting on the level of the mind, if you're at all aware of the holy name. So now, what does love mean? I mean, love in one sense, it's a feeling, it's the nature of the soul, but it is that desire, first of all. And this might sound controversial, but if you have an inner voice that is constantly criticizing yourself, you know, I'm not good enough, I can't ever get anything right, and I feel guilty, I feel ashamed of myself. And most of us, we're not even aware that this is going on. Meaning, if we don't have any appreciation for us, if we're not cultivating anything inside of our heart. See, the purpose of sadhana is, you know, one devotee gave this explanation of sadhana. Sat, dana. Sat means eternal, dana means wealth, eternal wealth. Yeah, I heard this from a devotee, he's called Buddha Bhavana Prabhu. I'm not sure if it's from him or for some other devotee, but the point is, it's a beautiful explanation because sadhana, and it's the meaning of it as well, is you want to cultivate wealth in your heart. So the purpose of coming and sitting down and chanting, the purpose of reading is that there's a transformation in our heart. You know, that our hearts become more soft, more compassionate, that we have empathy, that we care about each other, that we want to uplift each other. That is the point of bhakti. So we want to ask ourselves, what is going on inside of my heart? It's not metaphorical when we say the heart. It's not a metaphor. You know, chitta, the pure intelligence, is in the heart. Manas is in the heart. You know, the energy, the heart chakra, our organ. Did you know that even our physical organ, the heart organ, is kind of like, in one sense, it's controlling through different biochemical processes the activities of our brain. So our heart is also a brain in itself, just like our gut, by the way. So it's not metaphorical, it's a real thing. And it's not just going to happen by accident. So as we do our service, as we engage in a community, as we, run around all day, we want to make sure and look at our heart. Is something happening here? Of course, we also not getting frustrated if nothing is happening there. But if nothing is happening, then we might need to make some adjustments. We might need to work on ourselves. We need to reflect. One of the basic qualities of spiritual life is the ability to reflect on yourself. Humility means that you have the ability to look at yourself honestly as you are. Just as you are. This is incredibly hard. To just zoom out and to look at yourself as you are. Not like, sometimes we take Krishna Kaviraj Das Goswami writing, I'm lower than a worm stool. We think that that's no low self-esteem. Why is he saying that? He's saying that because if he makes himself very low, then there's more room for Krishna. He's experiencing Krishna and he doesn't want to get in the way of Krishna. He wants to put himself completely out of the picture. He just wants to have Krishna because he feels Krishna's love and he wants to, feel more of that love. So this is not, we can't imitate that. That is so exalted, we shouldn't even talk about it in the sense that it's beyond us. What we need to understand is that that's no low self-esteem. So we need to make sure that we, have the ability to look at ourselves with our strength, with the areas that we're really good at and maybe other areas that we're not that good at, and just look at ourselves and then understand how we can direct that in a way in which we can uplift society, in which we can uplift other people, and we can serve our spiritual master. Because bhakti, let's be honest, why are we here? There's so many things that are going on inside of ourselves. And if you don't realize them, how are you going to purify them? If you're going in a room and you want to clean that room and you don't see any dirt, then how are you going to clean that room? So if you look at your heart and you think like, yeah, it's quite okay, it's quite good, then are you in ecstasy when you're chanting the holy name? Are tears rolling from your eyes? Are you seeing Nishingadev as a non-different manifestation as Shingadev in the spiritual world? Is that all happening? If no, then there is some purification that needs to be done. And if we are not aware of what's in our heart, then how is that going to be purified? So it makes sense then in our spiritual life to write that even down. Okay, where am I at right now in my spiritual life? What are some of my challenges? And not just look at the external aspect of the challenge. Okay, I struggle to get up as early as I want. Okay, why is that? What is connected to that? What makes me feel like I can't get up of time? And track it down. Go deeper and deeper and deeper until you come to the core of what's actually going on here. And usually you come across some very lower vibrating emotions, tamasic emotions like anger, fear, shame, guilt. Guilt means you have, anytime you feel any type of joy or maybe, like self-worth, you feel like uncomfortable with that. Shame is just an exaggeration of that, where you feel that your entire sense of being has in one sense no right to exist. It's kind of this state of like feeling in one sense really like you're harsh with yourself, you're your own worst enemy, and you feel like you don't have any sense of self-worth. So most of us, we have that deeply rooted inside of ourselves. And it's really blocking us to become a vessel of love, because love cannot exist when there's fear, shame, guilt, low self-esteem. If we're critical, if you're in a state of love, you're not critical. You're not going to be critical. Even on a material level, if you fall in love with someone, these first 6 months when you're in love with someone, there's so much chemistry going on. You just see only the good in the other person, isn't it? And then, of course, after some time, you wake up and you realize, whoa, okay. But love has that nature that really makes you see the good in another person. So when we start to become critical, when we start to become agitated, and it's not because of some genuine abuse that is going on, then we want to take a look inside of ourselves. And of course, an easy way to understand where we're at on a particular day with our consciousness is to check how much gratitude are we experiencing in our heart. So if you ask yourselves right now, how grateful are you feeling right now? Because a pure devotee is in a constant state of gratitude. Everything that happens for them is just another manifestation of the Lord. Devotee is always, like in that sense, a bhakti yogi is in a constant state of gratitude. But not just saying I'm grateful, feeling it. Bhakti is a process of emotions. If you read the Nectar of Devotion, there's a whole description of different emotions. But it's not like, I don't feel anything and then I become a liberated soul and then I start to feel everything. It doesn't really work like that, So it's a very, very important question that we need to ask ourselves, because otherwise we'll just do whatever we do here, then we might go for some years to the heavenly planets, and then we take birth again into the family of devotees, and just like Gaur Swami, there's this pastime where one of his disciples passed away, and Gaur Swami, the disciples were asking, what is your destination, where did she go? And Gaur Swami said because she was serving the cows, he said, she went to the heavenly planets as a cow, and she's going to stay there for a few hundred of years, and then she's going to come back, take birth in a family of wealthy devotees. And honestly, that's the reality for most of us if we don't really cultivate a genuine higher state of consciousness. We're not the Christian church where you just chant 16 rounds and 4 acts and Hari Mangala Arti, Hari Bol, and then everything is forgiven and you go back. It's not that simple. Prabhupada said that, but then at the same time there's a small print to it. Just like when you sign a contract, it sounds very good, but then there's a small print. And the small print is that you have to genuinely, seriously endeavor for this elevation of consciousness. And if you don't, then we'll stay here for some more time. Why otherwise does Bhaktivinoda Thakur say one can chant the holy name for millions of lifetimes? Why does he say that? Now, the holy name is very, very merciful. Srila Prabhupada is very merciful. But Krishna looks at everyone with the entire context. So one devotee may stand up at 2 o'clock, chant 64 rounds, and does all of that. And another devotee struggles to chant 4 or 8 rounds, they're just starting off. But Krishna has so much more appreciation for that new devotee, because that new devotee is really struggling and trying his or her best. And this other devotee has been a devotee for 100 lifetimes and does the same nonsense each lifetime. So Krishna is not so impressed by his sadhana. Meaning Krishna sees how much we're holding back and how much we're giving. And Krishna always loves us, always. There's nothing we can ever do at any time, at any moment, that would make Krishna say, I don't love this devotee anymore. Krishna loves all souls, in whatever manifestation they are. Always. It's a fact. Do we feel like that? Do we feel that Krishna loves us? Is that an experience in our hearts? It's not just a theoretical concept. These books, Bhagavad-gītā, Bhagavatam, they have to become alive. As we purify our senses, we are going to perceive these more subtle realities. But if we don't purify our senses, it's just going to be a nice philosophy, a nice book, a nice dress, nice prasadam, nice devotees, Hare Krishna, Hare Bol. But is it real? Am I experiencing this? Is it really happening? And how do we have spiritual experiences? Spiritual experiences happen when we go from our conscious mind and we go to more subconscious states of existence. we go into deeper meditative states. Only then can we really have higher spiritual experiences. Of course, Krishna can at any time give mercy to anyone. But if we really want to go deeper, we have to find ways to enter into meditative states of being. That's kind of what the whole point of yoga is about. When Lord Brahma was instructed by Vishnu in the beginning of creation, tapa, he was meditating. So meditation is our tapasya. We don't need to artificially create any more tapasya. Actually, it can damage the heart of a devotee. Chanting 16 rounds, following 4 principles, getting up early, reading Shastra, this is enough tapasya for a Kali Yuga being. You know, if we're adding any tapasya in our life, it should serve the purpose of actually soften our heart, filling our heart with more love. So when we're fasting on Janmashtami, we're not drinking any water, and then we're feasting on our ego. That devotee was eating, that devotee was drinking, I haven't eaten anything, I haven't drunk any. I'm most advanced. I'm getting up earliest here. I'm here, the first one chanting in the temple room. I mean, I'm blessed. You know, they should make me guru soon. That's material conception. And that's why we suffer as devotees, because we still think it's about becoming the best book distributor, the best pujari, the best lecture giver, the best mridanga player, the best harmonium player, the best singer, the best cook. Krishna can't, he can't do anything with that. Of course, if you make halava with salt instead of sugar, it's not very good, but at the same time, Krishna ate the banana peels from, who was it? Draupadi? Yeah. Who was it? What's her name? Okay, I'm not sure it was Draupadi, but anyway, it's a very famous pastime. You'll find it. So because Krishna was tasting the love, therefore he was able to eat these banana peels. So our service has to be an offering of love, and Krishna can give us results, and sometimes he takes results away. But the main point is that we are cultivating this inner state very consciously, and that we are very aware of how we are dealing with others. This is very important. And in this way, we observe ourselves, we observe life, we activate the spiritual intelligence, and we don't fall into the trap of judgment and forming opinions. A devotee doesn't have opinions in the sense of this is good, this is bad. He discriminates what is favorable for his bhakti or her bhakti and what is not. This is favorable for my bhakti. This is discrimination. But a devotee doesn't judge. A devotee thinks, look, for me, it is not good to eat a lot of sweets, so I'm refraining for that. It helps me in my bhakti. But a devotee doesn't think, I'm so austere, I'm never going to eat any sweets again because I'm the best. No, because anyone who eats sweets is in Maya. That's judgment. That's the lower intelligence. A devotee uses their spiritual intelligence that discriminates. So this is very important. Are there any questions? Okay. I just saw the time, so I thought it's good to stop.
Yeah, well, thank you for the class, first of all. When you say to refrain from judgment, yeah, but then we may get even involved, not with intention, we get some thoughts, yeah, that they just come up. So how do you deal with those? Like you just try to, ignore them, or what would you do in that cases?
When we judge others, we need to understand that it says much more about ourselves than the other person. So when we find ourselves, which happens to all of us, by the way, when we have a judgmental attitude, we want to understand what is it inside of me that is not at peace. That is something we need to understand. Because if we are clean with ourselves, then why would we start judging others? It means like there's something going on within ourselves. That devotee that triggers us the most, that devotee has something to say about ourselves, our own insecurities, and our own way of being. So that's a good way to look at that. But becoming judgmental, critical, cynical, downplaying others, complaining about others, it happens a lot because we read books full of instructions of what we should do and what we should not do. Like every page we could look at it like that, but it's not. It is meant to activate our spiritual intelligence, and it's meant to help us to discriminate, not to judge. Jai Nishingadev Bhagavan Ki. So otherwise we stay on the level of the mind. Judgment and criticism is the level of the mind, and it's really it can really bring you into a very deep state of illusion, as we can see that Daksha even got the head of a goat because of it. So it's very, and there's a difference. Not being critical, again, does not mean that we don't have an intelligence that discriminates. It doesn't mean that we accept everything in any situation. That just means that I notice that when I'm around these devotees, I notice that it's not good for my spiritual life. So we don't judge them, we just discriminate by saying, okay, so I just know for myself, personally, I prefer to spend time with these devotees. We don't judge them, we don't look down on them, we don't start to badmouth them, it's just like we discriminate. This is very important in spiritual life. But there's a fine line between judgment and criticism and discrimination. If you have a service, you're a temple commander, you constantly have to look at something. If you're a manager, you have to look at something, and in one sense you have to point out the fault to make it better. That's your job as a manager in one sense. Equally, you're meant to see the good and magnify the good, but then again, it's more discrimination. It's like, if the kitchen is not clean, then the next morning the cook can't cook, and if the cook can't cook, the offering is going to be spoiled for Nishingadev. So therefore, I need to ensure that the devotee that is last is responsible enough to take care of it. But even if it's not done, we don't judge that devotee. We understand that devotee might be going through something, might be having a hard time, or or maybe that devotee is not ready to be right now in a spiritual community because each time he's going out in the pub. Okay, so but again, we don't look down on him because we know what we did a few years back, right? Or a few lifetimes back. It's not going to be very impressive. It's going to be quite embarrassing if we look at some of our past lives. Isn't there nothing to be very, it's not like we were King Indra. I mean, maybe, but it's like there's no need, to do. And only when we have an open mind, how do we really preach and attract others to our movement? It's not by the philosophy so much. Look, we can have the best philosophy in the world. If someone comes in here and the first thing that happens is they get a punch in their face, they're not going to join our movement. So obviously it's the behavior, it's the character. Sadacha, it's our ability to translate the philosophy into a high character. So if we meet someone and that person sees that we don't judge them, that we want to make friends with them, that we accept them for who they are, and that we encourage them in their talents, they're going to start falling in love with us as a person. Prabhupada went to a motor race, and there was a motor racing driver. And Prabhupada for 2 hours was standing with this man, asking him questions about his car and about the sport and everything. Now, why did Prabhupada do that? Because Prabhupada knew that this was a way to build connection with that particular man. So Prabhupada had the intelligence when to chastise someone on their first meeting, because he could see that the person was ready for that. The person had so much spiritual samskara, the person was ready for that. He could directly preach. And when, the person just needed like a human connection, Prabhupada could see that. But we sometimes take letters from Prabhupada, after a few years in our movement, and then we go around, with a big bell, oh, Prabhupada said, It's very embarrassing. Honestly, it's very embarrassing, So it's, we want to take like a very humble position and really not like take the essence of Prabhupada. And the essence of Prabhupada is that everyone loved Prabhupada. So that example of Prabhupada is what we want to become. Anyone who met Prabhupada, any Prabhupada disciple, even if they left Krishna consciousness, even if they're not practicing anymore, they still love Prabhupada. Why? Because of the way how he was able to relate to them. And that is something that's the essence of Prabhupada. That's the essence of why he came to the West. And if we are not really understanding that, then we're going to remain a very, very, very small movement in the West. Very insignificant. But when we open our mind, and if we really start to relate to people and not look down on people, judge people and feel that we're so much better and more advanced, no one cares, to hear from someone like that, unless you're really at a very, very low point in your life. So if we're able to show in our behavior that we are living this philosophy by our behavior, by becoming such a loving force that people that meet us are like, wow, this is such an amazing person. I want to, meet this person and meet their friends. And then, of course, people are going to come and they're going to join and they're going to practice it in their own way. Not everyone is going to live in the temple. It's impossible. We're 8 billion people. There are 80 million people in Germany and 3 or 4 temples. How is that going to work? For the majority of people, they need to learn to adapt those spiritual principles in their day-to-day life. And then it's very good when people come to communities to create that center of spiritual concentration, so that a community becomes a place where people can go and serve and charge their spiritual batteries. But our goal is our goal is that someone can naturally adapt these spiritual principles, because only a few are ready to, most people that come to the temple, and I will end here, that shave up, take on bed sheets and all of that, which we maybe all did at some point that are here now, they were already a bit out of society. They were already on some path, But if we really want to make a meaningful impact, what did, I don't know if it was Sanatan or Rupa, I think it was Sanatan Goswami. He was walking around Govardhan Hill and all the villagers loved him. All the villagers loved him. And you know why? He was asking, what about your daughter? Is she married yet? What about your son? How is he doing? He was relating to people on their level. He was showing that he cared about them. And therefore, they loved him so much. Not because he was running around with a stick telling everyone to chant or otherwise they would go to hell. He's not doing that. He was relating to people on their level. And if we're able to do that, and if we're able to penetrate, also on book distribution, people will remember you because they, the consciousness, they had an impact. They felt like, this person gave me a book. I don't really understand this book. It's hard to go through the first chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, to be honest, all the names. But this person was special. Let me go to the temple and meet them. So, this is something we need to understand in all of our interactions. And then when we are open-minded, then we can invite more people with an elevated state of consciousness to become part and to expand, and then in that way this love can be shared in various ways. And I feel this is, at least in my understanding, the essence of what Srila Prabhupada gave to us, and sometimes we miss that under all these details. Okay, maybe I don't know if I can ask if there's any more important question, because otherwise I close it so we can have some Gaurati. Anything needs to be clarified? Okay, ask. Okay, so Pujari says go Arti time, so you can ask me after class. Srila Prabhupada ki Nitai Gaura Premanande.